There have been quite a few powerful Jedi over the centuries, and most have lived their lives chasing the light side of the Force. Pursuing the light side and doing what their elders told them was right and just about being a Jedi. That is despite their personal beliefs in some cases. Even if it went against their moral compass, they followed the teachings of the Jedi and understood if they went against what the creed of the Jedi stood for and taught them, they could be outcast and even expelled from the Jedi Order. Most conformed to this ideology. However, there were a few Jedi that did not let that mandate of the Order deter them from doing what was right. This is a quick story about three powerful Jedi and their fall from the light and why they pursued the dark side in a segment I call the Fallen Jedi. First Jedi on the list is Revan, a very powerful Jedi who was one of the quickest studies of all time. He picked up swordplay and mastery of force abilities quickly and easily. So even at a young age, he was very formidable as a Jedi and very tough to deal with in battle. However, as he went on mission after mission and taking orders from the Jedi High Council, who at the time preached peacekeeping, honoring your fellow persons in the galaxy, the full embodiment of humanitarianism, there was something that was off with the Jedi Council, because soon they would align themselves with the High Republic, and now politics govern a lot of their decisions. So there were quite a few times where Revan was ordered to let people he was sent to save suffer, and even die in cases because the Republic instructed the Jedi to do so. Revan became very frustrated and enraged at the hypocrisy that was handing out time after time by the High Council. The scales were tipped during the Mandalorian Wars, where Revan was instructed to stay out of their affairs. Despite that, he led a group with his close friend Malik by his side, fought in the wars anyway, going against the High Council's mandate. They were captured, however, in the fighting, and they were held captive by the Sith. In a lethal cocktail of disillusionment with the Jedi and the dark side influence by the Sith, Revan and Malik embraced the dark side, a path he saw that would allow him to execute his own agenda, amass his own forces, and do things his way instead of the ways of the Jedi. His purple lightsaber would be joined by a red saber, signifying his allegiance to the dark side. And he then would wage war against the Jedi Order from that moment on. Although he's seen at one point as being a person that wanted to save the galaxy, the Jedi way or the light pushed him to align himself with the dark side and seek power and make the Force bend to his will. Next on the list is Count Dooku, a very powerful Jedi master and an extremely talented duelist, practitioner of the rare lightsaber form 2, Makashi. He, much like Revan, believed the Jedi to be peacekeepers and to be placed in the galaxy to help and aid people. He became quickly disillusioned with the Jedi Order, as he often disagreed with a lot of their decision-making, how they allow for wars to be waged and innocent people to be killed. Although he was much more of an ambassador of sorts than Revan ever was, he saw that politics was often at the root of the evil that was in the galaxy and why people were made to suffer. Qui-Gon Jinn, his Padawan, also took on this thought process, as he, much like his master, often went against the Jedi Order and did things they felt was right. This is where Darth Plagueis and Darth Sidious come into play. They saw the disassociation that Dooku had and how powerful he was as a Force user. They used that as means to separate Dooku from the Jedi. And after Qui-Gon's death, that was a tipping point to push Dooku away. Dooku felt that because the Council did not do enough to support Qui-Gon, who claimed that the Sith had returned by the way of Darth Maul, he then renounced the Jedi Order and took up the idea of following Darth Sidious. Dooku would eventually agree to become his new apprentice, Darth Tyrannus. Sidious assured him that his way of bringing order to the galaxy by removing the Jedi and reorganizing the Republic would fall in line with what Dooku wanted for the galaxy. That series of events led Dooku down the path of the dark side that he would never return. The third and final Jedi on the list is none other than Anakin Skywalker. Upon discovery, Anakin was sought out by both sides to be used as a pawn to shift the tide in the war that was now apparent between the light and the dark. The prophecy of the Chosen One, which Qui-Gon believed Anakin was conceived by the Force itself to fulfill, put the Jedi and the Sith on the defensive. The Jedi were terrified that Anakin had the potential to be more powerful of a Force user than even Yoda. That kind of raw power and because he was an older child, they feared that he could not properly indoctrinate him into blindly following their ways. This allowed fear to creep in, and as if he decided to overthrow them at any point with his immense power, it would be done. That would lead to many of the Jedi shunning him and refusing to teach him as much as they could because they did not want him to reach his full potential. The Sith feared his presence because Darth Plagueis believed his metachlorian experiments led to his creation. And the Force itself was answering that and punishing his tampering. Plagueis feared that he was there to destroy them. So he set out on a mission to do everything he could to block his ability to become a Jedi. Sidious, on the other hand, set out on a plan and put that in motion to turn him by befriending him and using his attachments as means to sway him to the dark side. Despite the forces at play to keep him at bay, Anakin grew stronger and stronger throughout the Clone Wars. The death of Count Dooku at the hands of Anakin saw the power shift to be imminent. So Sidious had to kick his manipulations into high gear. Knowing Anakin's weakness for Padme and his attachment to Palpatine as a father figure, he would use that along with his detachment from the Jedi Order to sway Anakin to the dark side. This was under the premise that his choice would save Padme's life. Met with a fight or flight decision to betray the Jedi and take up the ways of the Sith, Anakin turned on Mace Windu. That allowed for Sidious to eliminate him in a fight, causing the ultimate turn of the last fallen Jedi, Anakin Skywalker, who will be henceforth be called Darth Vader. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe for more Star Wars content, and please check out these 2 videos on the screen here to further your Star Wars journey. And may the Force be with you always.